Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to take our object that we have been modeling and texturing and making it all look really cool, and we're going to create what's called a turntable animation. Essentially, we're going to make it look like our object is rotating in space so that we can see it from all angles. Essentially, just like this video that I'm about to show. This is slower than the one you're going to make, so don't worry about it, all right? So we're rotating our object. We can see everything. It looks really nice. There's nice shadows. There's nice reflections. Everybody's happy. All right, so we are going to create a video just like this for your items that you created. So first of all, I have no other lights in my scene. I have my nice image. All I'm doing is looking through the viewport 2.0, and everybody's hunky-dory. I went ahead and turned off the grid so I could actually see a little better on what I'm doing. So if you still have the grid, that's fine. That does not render, so you don't have to worry about that. So the first thing I want to do is I want to put some lights in here to make it look really nice. So I'm going to kind of jog our memory a little bit. Maybe if you remember back in freshman year, possibly, we did a whole unit on photography and we did lights. You're going to be using some of that same ideas because it works the same, more or less, in 3D as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a 3-point light setup. So the 3-point light means we use 3 different lights and they're in different locations. So I'm going to show you how to position them more or less because it's going to be up to you whether or not where exactly you want them. And we're going to create a light box to bounce light around, and then I'm going to show you how to render it. So first things first, I'm just going to go ahead and go to lighting, use all lights. When I do that, since I have no lights, now my image is black. I'm also going to turn my renderer on to Arnold. Right now I have a whole black screen. Oh gosh, who turned out the lights? You did. You turned out the lights. I'm going to use my cameras, my front and side and top, to help me position my lights so that I actually get that 3-point light set up. So I'm going to come here to Arnold. We're going to make some Arnold lights for this. If you are not using Arnold, you will need to use spotlights, and of course you can't use the Arnold renderer. I'm hoping that maybe you can borrow a computer that does have Arnold so you can set this up. So maybe talk to your neighbor, be real nice, and set that up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create what's called an area light here in Arnold. So I'm just going to click that to create it. And what it does is it creates it right dead center in the middle, right? So now I need to move it so that I'm actually illuminating something. All right, so I'm going to move it to the front of my mug. The front of your mug may be in a different spot for you. I'm going to move it up a little bit. So you can see I'm using all of these cameras to help inform me. I know for some of you it's overwhelming to see a bunch of stuff. I'm not looking at all of it all at once. I'm looking at each one and saying, okay, is this where I want it to be? Okay, so I know some of you are overwhelmed. Please understand this is going to help you align stuff. This perspective camera, it's very hard for you to know what distances are. So that's why I use these orthographics. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and rotate this. And I know I'm not seeing any lights yet. Hang on a second. I'm going to scale it up so it's a bigger square because my light's going to be coming off of this square. The other thing I need to do is turn the intensity up because that's why I'm not seeing anything. So let's crank that intensity up. I still don't see anything. Let's add a 0 to that. Ah, there we go. So if you need to type in a number on the intensity, go for it. I just typed in an extra 0. And from there, I can increase that. So you can see here, let me click on my light and my outliner. I can also change the exposure, make it even brighter. Right, so now I have a light going on. This first light should illuminate most of your subject. And in this case, your subject is your item, your model. All right, so I want to angle it so I'm getting the most amount illuminated. Not all of it, but a good chunk. Okay, so that's my first light. This is called a key light. Let's go ahead and name that in our outliner by double-clicking the light name, and I'm going to say key light. So that's light number 1. Now we need to create light number 2. I'm just going to click on my key light and duplicate with Command D to create a second light. I'm going to move this one off. I'm going to go ahead and call this the fill light because we're going to fill in the darker areas, right? Because we had that dark area. Now we got to fill it in. So I'm going to move it over off to the side, the opposite side. And then I'm going to rotate, of course, to face my object. And you should already see that darker area being filled in over here. All right. I'm going to move it a little further back. You may also want to lower the intensity, right? Because we're filling in those shadows. Here's 0 intensity. And here's about 50% of our key light, right? You want to do about 50%. Of course, it's up to you. You can make it as pretty as you want. You can lower it. You can raise it. You can tilt it. Okay, so that's going to be our fill light. Now I want to illuminate the edge, give it like a nice little highlight on the rim. So, and kind of fill in the cup inside a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate my key light again. Command D. I'm going to name this one rim light or backlight. I'm going to do backlight. So I'm going to move this one. Again, notice in my top view. I'm going to move this one to the back. Okay, got to rotate it so that it faces. You should already see some stuff happening. All right, I got some illumination happening on the edge of my mug. But I'm going to go ahead and look in my front view here, and I'm going to say move, and I'm going to raise it up. And then I'm going to point it down. Okay, and we can see in the preview what's going on. Okay. Maybe let's move it off to the back just a tad. Rotate it again. You can experiment with it on where you want it. You can experiment with the exposure, the intensity. Again, I'm not gonna, I'm looking for that 3-point light setup, but the way that you do it is more or less up to you. All right. So now I have a 3-point light set up. Right? I got my 3 lights. Now, my background's a little dark. It's kind of sad. I want to create what's called like a light box. So I'm going to put this inside like a giant cube so that I can bounce light around the inside and create like a nice, smooth, soft shadow and make it look like a studio image. Right? So to do that, I'm going to go to Poly Modeling and I'm going to create just a random cube, just a normal everyday cube. I want to scale that cube up so that it engulfs my image, my mug and my lights. We're having some issues here. It's not showing up quite how I like it. What happened? What happened? Okay, so you're going to have to make sure that your camera is inside of your box. So make it big enough that you can also maneuver your camera. Then we're going to move the cube up to about the origin so that we have this nice... Let me turn around. I think it's... No, it's this way. All right, so now I've got my mug more or less. Maybe move this up a tad. Because we want to make it look like it's contacting the ground. Notice that you may need to adjust your lights now that we have some stuff bouncing around. But also notice, hang on, actually, I'm going to adjust my lights here. Alright, I got my lights more or less where I want them. Sorry for that jump cut. It was passing period. But the problem is, you're going to notice, if you look in the background, my cube has a sharp edge. So my light is just hitting it and creating that sharp edge, which is a little distracting. So to fix this, I'm going to bevel my cube. So I'm going to go to the toolbox or to the modeling the modeling menu set. And I'm going to say bevel. And I'm going to do it to 6 segments to create that nice soft surface. You already noticed that now it's not so sharp. I'm going to go ahead and make that smooth with the number 3. I mean, if you want to make other adjustments, you probably don't want it to be a sphere. We need at least a little bit of a flat surface for the shadows to project. Alright, so it looks like we have a nice little background. If you want to adjust this more, you can. Just try and get this nice soft background and nice soft shadows. Okay. Let's put that poly bevel away. We'll just click off of that. So now we are almost ready to do our turntable. So there's a couple things we still need to do. I'm going to go to my rendering menu set. Go to render settings. And I'm going to check some of my settings here. Okay. Before I do those other ones, I want to go down to image size. We want our image to be HD_1080. That's how big this is going to be. And so the reason we want to go ahead and set this is because we want to position our camera where we want it to end up. So I'm going to go into my viewport and go to view. We're going to go to camera settings. We're going to turn on what's called resolution gate. So this pretty much shows me exactly what's going to render. All right, so now I have a frame around my image that shows me where that's going to be. So try to put your mug somewhere nice. Or not your mug, your item, your thing. Because this is an example, you're going to be using your models. And just put it kind of somewhere in the center. If we do the turntable and it kind of looks weird, you may want to redo it. But for right now, this is going to work. All right. So to make my turntable, I'm going to go to my menu and go to the animation menu set. We're going to find a menu called visualize. And then there is one called create turntable, and there's a little box next to it. Click on the box. All right, so this is where you're going to set how many frames this is going to go for and what direction it's going to rotate. You need to set it to 120 frames. That's 5 seconds-ish. All right, 120 frames. You can either do clockwise or counterclockwise. It doesn't matter. I'm a counterclockwise person, so that's what I did. Make sure that you have selected your object before you hit turntable. I've got my thing selected and I'm going to click turntable. So it doesn't look like anything happened. However, if I press play on my timeline, you're going to see some animation happening. Okay, we're going to change that to 120. You may notice that your mug is flying at the speed of light. If you want to fix that, come down to your timeline, right click and say playback speed, and make sure it is play every frame. You can either do the free or the max real time, because otherwise it's going to look like it's on too much monsters, too much caffeine. Okay. So please change that. And now you should get a nice smooth animation. There's another problem. The lighting isn't consistent, and now I feel like I'm looking behind the scenes on something or on a stage. So essentially what is happening here is that the mug itself is not rotating. What is rotating is a camera around my object. So if I want the lights to remain consistent, I want to parent that to the camera animation. So you're going to notice here on the bottom of my viewport, it says Turntable Camera 1. So when you made a turntable, it created this shape. Coming over into the outliner, if you don't see the outliner, you can go to Windows, General Editors. I believe it's under Windows Outliner. Because then you can see your stuff. And you're going to see this group 1 in here, or this group. If I expand the group with the plus sign, you're going to see Turntable Camera 1, or whatever turntable is made. Mine was like 5 at one point. So whatever your camera turntable here is, it's going to be this one. So I want to put the rest of these things inside of this group so that it follows that animation, right? The thing that's actually animating is the group itself. So I'm going to grab my lights and my cube. So all of them. And I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. It's not the left mouse, it's middle mouse. So press down on your scroll wheel and drag it down into that group and drop. So now they're all within that group. So if I come down here and press play, now all we see is the mug rotating, or the object rotating. I know it's kind of fuzzy because we have Arnold on. All right, so now if you're satisfied with this animation and you're not like, ooh, it's kind of off to the side. If you're satisfied with this, we are ready to render. Okay, you can make any adjustments you want up until then, or at any point. So now we're ready to render. Let's go to the rendering menu set. We're going to come over to render settings. Okay. Make sure you name it something. Don't just do untitled. Name it something. You got to get out of that untitled habit. Okay. Name it something. Image format is going to be PNG. We are going to be rendering these as individual images. Okay. Frame padding, you can leave it. Frame animation extension. This is going to be the naming format that it is. I would do name, #, or hashtag, it means number, .ext, so that it's going to be mug turnaround demo 001.png. Okay. Frame range. Make sure it is to your frame range. If it's only, by default, I believe it's 1 to 10, please change that to 120, or else you're only going to have 10 frames. That's not what you want. Under renderable camera, make sure you have your turntable camera. That's what we're rendering from. Okay? If you don't do that, it's not going to render your animation. It's going to look really, really weird. All right? So this should be for Arnold. This is our render output. If you are not using Arnold, I will have to give you alternative instructions. Or what I think we should do is find a friend that has Arnold and use their computer. Or have them render somewhere else. I think we can make that happen. All right, so I'm done with render settings. I'm closing it. Now, before I say batch render, I'm going to come up to Arnold. I'm going to go down to licensing, license manager. Okay, it's going to check. Make sure that you are signed in to your Autodesk and that this license available is checked. If you don't do that, it's going to render a really nasty watermark on all of your pictures. So please make sure you do this. If you don't do this, it's going to be a bad time. All right, we're going to close. Now I'm going to say render batch render. And what's going to happen is here on the bottom, you will see your progress. So I have result percentage of rendering done, and it has a number, and then it has the location of your files and what frame you are on. So right now I'm actually on frame 15 of something. I don't know why. I don't know why it's starting there. But it should say 001.png. And it's going to save in this location. So if you're like, where's my files? That's where it is. Okay. So now, once you're done with that, you can use QuickTime to create a video out of your image sequence, or you can put it in Premiere and create an image sequence that way. Either way. Okay. And you're going to end up with something similar to what we showed at the beginning. This lovely turnaround of your object that you spent all this time and effort making look beautiful. We're showing it off. All right, that should be it. Please ask questions in the comments. Please find me if you are my student and you can see me in the classroom. Otherwise, have a great day. Today, I'm recording on a Friday, so happy Friday, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.